I'm Will Kaufman with the Apollo Challenge, and right now I'm going to show you how to prepare roasted vegetables. And we're going to go through Brussels sprouts, asparagus, and then a roasted vegetable medley. And we're going to do these all together because the preparation is very similar. We're going to wash them, cut them, season them, and then roast them in the oven at 375 until they're tender. And you can do this with pretty much any vegetable. So let's go ahead and start with the Brussels sprouts. Now that we've washed our vegetables, I'm going to go ahead and trim these Brussels sprouts. Now I like to cut off the end and cut them in half. And then we're going to go ahead and put them on an oiled baking sheet. I'm just going to drizzle a little bit of olive oil on this sheet, keep them from sticking. And then place them on individually facing up. Then you're going to trim the Brussels sprouts all the same way. And you're going to make sure you want to give them a little bit of room on the tray. That way they can all crisp up nicely. Once you've trimmed all your Brussels sprouts, go and put a drizzle of olive oil across the top. And the great thing about Brussels sprouts is that they will absorb all that delicious oil you're putting on them. Now we're going to go ahead and season with a little bit of salt and pepper. Now these are ready to go in the oven. We're going to put them in there for about 30 minutes, depending on your taste. The Brussels sprouts are done. Let's pull them out of the oven. Once you've washed your asparagus, we're going to go ahead and trim off the ends. So line up all those butts together and trim off about a ½ inch. That will remove all of the dried ends. Discard that. And then we're going to put these straight on a lightly oiled baking sheet. Just roll them around in the oil there to get them all nice and coated. I like to keep my seasoning really simple with just a little salt and pepper, but you can season this to your taste. Just make sure you're avoiding sugar. So I'm going to go ahead and put a little salt and pepper on these guys. Now that these have their salt and pepper on them, they're ready for the oven. They're going to go in there at 375 for 15 to 20 minutes until they're nice and tender. The asparagus is looking tender, so let's pull it out of the oven. Now we're going to prepare the roasted vegetable medley. Today we're going to use a selection of seasonal organic produce. We've got some bell peppers, some zucchini, cauliflower, onion, and garlic. Now right now I'm going to start with the peppers. I like to start by cutting the top off and then cut out the middle, and I like to cut along each of the center support structures so they're really easy to cut out. I like to cut them into strips and then turn them to cut them into smaller squares. We're going to go ahead and add this to our mixing bowl. And we're going to do the same with the next pepper. Now we're going to cut up the zucchini. I like to start by cutting off the top and bottom, discarding those sections, and then I find it easiest to go cut it in half, slice it longitudinally twice, rotate it, and then cut that again, and then just cut along the length to get your cubes. We'll go ahead and add that to the bowl as we cut it. And once you finish your zucchini, we're going to move on to the cauliflower. Now this one's a little tough to cut. I usually like to break off the remaining leaves so I can get to the base. And then cut in around the base of it. Cut that in half, you can see the floret structure. And so we can just start trimming off florets from the top. as we trim these, we'll continue to add them to the bowl. We'll continue to finish off this cauliflower and move on to our garlic and onion. The way I like to cut an onion is to start by lopping off the top and the bottom, and then taking off just the outside skin. Once we've removed the skin, I'll then start by making a row of cuts, not quite all the way through the onion, so almost to the bottom. And I'll do those about, call it 1/4 to 1/2 inch wide. Rotate the onion and do the same thing to create a crisscross pattern. Then we're going to take the onion and put it on its side. You can see it's kind of got that bloomin' onion look. Put it on its side and cut straight through all of those cuts. And you end up with perfectly diced onion pieces. Now, a lot of chefs will just discard this piece, but I like to just take the time to chop it up by hand. And now we'll add this onion to the bowl. Next is the garlic. We'll start by peeling the garlic by hand, and I like garlic, so I'm gonna do we'll do 3 cloves of garlic for this recipe. Now I remove as much of the skin as I can, and sometimes it helps to just cut the bottom off. You can also use a garlic press, but I prefer to chop it. And then we're gonna go and slice this up. All right, once it's all nice and chopped up, we'll add that to the mix as well. The secret ingredient I like to add at the end is a couple sun-dried tomatoes. Now, little of these go a long way, so I'll usually do 2 or 3 pieces. I'll then go ahead and dice these up real finely. Like I said, these go a long way. Then we're gonna go ahead and mix these into the veggies as well. Once we've chopped all our veggies and put them in the bowl, we're gonna sprinkle some olive oil over the top and then mix it all up. Now this is a lot of mass, so I'll do a little bit, then I'll go dig right in and start mixing it up, trying to turn things up from the bottom here. And then I'm gonna go ahead and add a second round of olive oil. And continue stirring. Keep stirring this until it's well mixed. Then we're ready to put it in the baking dish. And this is gonna go in the oven at 375 for about 50 minutes, and you're gonna wanna stir every 10 to 15 minutes. We've turned the roasted vegetables a couple times and they're looking great. So now we're gonna go ahead and take them out of the oven.